Hello everyone, welcome to Insight. I am Nnamdi Odipo. Certain major global events in world history like the Great Depression and World War I and II realigned aspects of how the world operates. These events defined the years and decades that followed their occurrences. There is absolutely no doubt that the current coronavirus pandemic has already changed our world, and in what light people around the world would think of existence, or in fact already think of existence. Oddly enough, no one is spared in this new alignment, and whether you're in Nigeria or the United States, London, Dubai, or indeed even in faraway Australia, you'll see changes in politics, in business and trade, in religion, and in social interactions as well. On this episode of Insight, we will narrow the discourse to how these changes impact on certain aspects of life and explore ideas and suggestions being proffered by experts. Elizabeth Omori is also on standby for the media review segment. Elizabeth?
Well, it's good to be here again, and on the media review segment, we shall be taking a look at world press and freedom. Now, we understand that some countries are clamping down on independent media. How do we guard against this in Nigeria? And of course, we shall also be taking a look at engendering and encouraging free media in Nigeria. These are some of the areas we'll be taking a look at on the media review segment.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We'll now proceed with the discussion segment. As we continue the fight against COVID-19 here in Nigeria, I believe the goal in the short term is to curb community spread of the virus, deploying various strategies such as social and physical distancing and the lockdown of states. Ultimately, states would have to reopen just like the FCT and Lagos are gradually already doing. The key target thus becomes stopping continued spread of the virus within an open and functional society. My guest speaks on how this can be achieved through a public behavioral pattern of approach. He is James Komolafe, CEO, Saba Resources, a behavioral therapeutic agency. Welcome to Insight.
Thank you so very much, Nnamdi.
Yes, well, let's start on these notes. It's public knowledge. I mean, just about everywhere you go to, you notice that people are in a hurry. They seem to be in a hurry for things to go back to normal. I mean, this is normal. We are humans, after all, would like for things to go back to the way they used to be. But, I mean, I'm not saying that it's wrong for them to think that way. It's like I just alluded to, we're humans and it's bound to happen. Are things bound to revert or to go back to the way they used to be? Or are we having a new normal on our hands now? What is our new reality?
Nnamdi, thank you very much. You said it all. It's completely a paradigm shift and, of course, a new normal. In fact, as I'm sitting down here, I'm trying to just catch my breath, and that is consequent of the new normal. I've never done it this way before, speaking with virtually my mouth covered. Why? COVID-19 pandemic has brought a new perspective to lifestyle, behavioral patterns, and existence in general. You will remember the lockdown just came suddenly upon everybody, the rich, the poor, the good, the bad, the ugly. And some of us went into lockdown for 5 weeks, almost 6 weeks, before, give and take, government saw the need to balance the equation between health and wealth, or lifestyle and livelihood, and mellow down a bit, which we still have to be very careful about. Man is an active person, and by responsibility, he is supposed to showcase 3 values. 1, to work out his ability, what he has. 2, to design his activity, that is where he engages the ability that he has, and then to work within the tandem of the reality on ground. Before COVID-19 pandemic lockdown, everybody was busy, the hustle and the bustles of life, trying to fix the daily exigencies. But As soon as COVID-19 came in, it's a rejig. Personal equilibrium, family equilibrium became distorted. Societal equilibrium became distorted. Government, policies, what have you, attention had to necessarily shift to the fact of COVID-19 on ground so that we can preserve lives, protect lives, for which we also came in from the behavioral angle that preserving and protecting life is necessary, but production during the period of lockdown is sufficient so that people don't begin to harvest the negative side of lockdown.
So the new normal balances the quest for economic sustainability or for wealth as well as safety of human lives. That's the delicate balance for the new normal.
Well, you could say that in the short run, because the new normal is not actually a balance. The new normal is putting a demand on all of us to rework our lifestyle, to see what to knock off. In fact, all of us have gone to school, courtesy of COVID-19, practical school that you don't just learn things, you are not taught, but you have been able to catch some certain values, some certain mannerism. A way of life has changed because lessons of life have been communicated. Lessons of life are either taught or caught. And I think every human being on earth, irrespective of the continent, have caught some certain lessons courtesy of COVID-19. So a new normal is here, that the things you were used to doing before, the way you were doing it, you no longer can do it that way. You have to fix and adjust yourself to the reality.
Okay, please just make this clearer for me, because I mean, you lost me just a couple of seconds back. I can agree that, yes, the pandemic has thrown up new demand.
Yes.
When you say the new normal is not or cannot create a balance, it doesn't sound very optimistic, because there's no doubt there are changes in lifestyle. There'll be new demands, whether at home, like you've alluded to, within our family units, whether in the workplace. The times have changed indeed.
Yes.
Can we not achieve a balance despite the fact that these demands will be there and continue to be there for some time?
If you heard me right, I said in the short run,
okay,
we were trying to do it. You see, Rome was never built in a day. Behavioral modification or change, mental shift, lifestyle pattern, though COVID-19 lockdown forced some certain lives upon us. But you see, it takes constant reworking.
It's a process.
Procedures and processes to be able to ingrain these values so that after a while we can get our balance back. That's why I said in the short run we are working at it.
Okay.
But in the long run and intermediate, we have to keep at it. Meaning that, one, I have to reevaluate myself. Okay. What is it that will no longer work? Consequent of COVID-19 necessary demands.
That's
for example,
for an individual.
For an individual, corporate organization,
okay,
communities. In fact, when we come to the issue of community flattening of the curve, I will really reel out some certain issues, because government may have given us the necessary condition, but as citizens and communities in the neighborhood, in the workplace, we have to develop the sufficient conditions in order to keep safe. So the new normal says, what you are doing before, you no longer can do it. Can you see me struggling with this? It's part of the new normal we are talking about, because I'm not used to this. So the new normal says, what is that thing that COVID-19 took off, knocked off, that cannot be achieved now? For example, the issue of social distancing. The issue of having to frequently wash your hand with soap and alcohol-based hand sanitizer and the rest of it, and to sneeze by the twist of your arm and all of that are the new normal. They are the demands. For example, if your work has to do with meeting people and you've been doing that so well in all excellence before, and you now know that by the reason of COVID-19 lockdown demands and requirements, you no longer can meet people and meet crowd, then you still will have to meet there at some other level. If you are talking of that balance in that sense, then we will understand.
Okay.
Because you have to shift in your mind. You have to shift in your habit. You have to shift in your behavioral pattern. And to doing that, in fact, during COVID lockdown, essentially, what we did for the society on a free note was to create a level playing assessment called the coping mechanism assessment test. Because you see, it's one thing, maybe if you just permit me so that I can breathe very well before I collapse here under this. You see, because it's one thing to hear all of these things on the tube, on the TV, on the radio, don't do this, do that. But you see, as human beings, our brains are not wired like robots to just pick a message and start adopting it immediately. So you need some behavioral guidelines that will put those things on ink and paper, and from time to time you can just stick and see where you fall and see how well you have coped, so that it doesn't become a personal struggle which leads you into some negative patterns of life or ways of doing things.
Let's back up a bit here and go to, because you just raised the issue of the lockdown. Now, in terms of behavioral pattern, have we begun to see changes already? Now, please give me an evaluation in terms of lessons learned, the good, the not so good, and the areas or things we should, I don't want to use the word bad or ugly now, but the ones that we should or have to avoid. I mean, can you put that into context?
Yes. COVID-19 pandemic came in with the good, the bad, and the ugly, which we cannot run away from. The good, family bonding, became highly heightened. People began has begun to build bridges across board. The lessons of personal hygiene, respiratory hygiene, boosting of immunity, and all those things had to necessarily go up. Why? Because the facts and the evidences are here before us.
Yes.
When you look at TV, mortality rate just 40, before you know it, it has jumped to 60 and what have you, and so nobody wants to die. With the rate of fatality across the globe, it behooves that you attend to all the precautionary measures without seams, and then also take predetermined measure yourself, so that even when the government relaxes the lockdown, you can still be up and doing as to keep to the new equilibrium. Because, like you said, COVID-19 has come to redefine our equilibrium, our balances. And when you are talking of balances, you look at two sides and make sure it is balanced so that there will be no lopsidedness here and there. And in talking about balance, without being a student of economics, the demand and the supply of your life, your energy, your work, your relationships, and your responsibilities must measure up to the supply of it. And in doing this, to create a balance, so many things have changed for which you can't do again now. So you must scale up.
Okay.
People you cannot meet anymore physically, you must meet them through online, through some media relations, meaning that you have to reinvent yourself, meaning that you have to scale up yourself and upgrade. And you see, many of us have upgraded because you don't need to wait until the lockdown is relaxed. if you have observed the coping mechanism very well, one of the joys that you get from it during lockdown is that you are able to explore into yourself, to say, wait a bit, look at this. What can I do if they are saying no more gathering?
Yes.
If I'm an entertainer, for example, and I only thrive when there is crowd. Now you can't tell when else the government will say crowd can gather. Because in an attempt to flatten the curve of COVID-19 transmission and the infection here and there, of a necessity, whether in the short run now or intermediate, there should be no crowd. So it then behooves, and wisdom demands, to sit down and rethink, explore other opportunities. ICT, internet, online is king now. It's king everywhere. You want to talk about business sector, entertainment sector, ministry, whatever, even in religious front.
I want to believe that's part of the good parts that the lockdown threw up. You talked about the bad and then the ugly.
The bad and the ugly.
If we can quickly take that aspect as well.
Because you see, the good side of it is that it has reawakened your mind to some certain realities.
And then the ugly side?
The ugly side, well, you have to wash your hand all of the time, though it is hygienic.
Yes.
You have to keep your mask. You can see me pull it down because I was beginning to gasp for breath. Before I fall down, people think it's something.
Yeah, ultimately,
I have to master it in order to marshal it and get used to it over time.
Let's move on very quickly.
And then the ugly side, the infection is still going on.
I was going to come.
And community infection is.
Sorry, if you don't mind, can I just come in here and ask you this? Because, I mean, since we're already on the subject, we could as well just talk about it. And yes, we might be experiencing partial reopening of states like Lagos and Abuja, and I think some other states are beginning to toe the same line as the federal government announced, as the president announced a couple of days, and they're gradually reopening society.
With caution.
With caution, yes. It's a gradual process. But it doesn't still mean we're out of the woods yet. We're having transmission now at the community
secretly
phase.
And silently.
How do we apply behavioral change pattern to flatten the curve, especially at community level at this time, very quickly?
That's very interesting. Government side and all of the precautions we've been giving are necessary. The sufficient condition lies with the family, in the neighborhood, in the community. And when I talk community, I'm saying occupational community, job community, relational community, affiliation community, workplace community. One, we have to keep to all the precautionary measures and keep the social distancing, which we all know about without much ado. But the second one, which is most integral and vital, is the sufficient condition for which, in the cyber resources, we came out with a model called the triangular model, which every family, every community, anywhere, whether occupational, geographical, relational, affirmational, whatever is your community, a group of people that has common shared values and ideas based on whatever template is a community. Very
quickly, because we're fast losing time, explain how that model can work within the family and the workplace.
You can see it. The triangle, the family is at top. So responsibility has shifted. Behavioral change must begin with individuals in the family. That's why the family is at top of the triangle. And then you have lifestyle at the base, and then you have livelihood. The priority is that when the family is at top and there is consent, harmonious consent within the family level to keep to social distancing and all the precautionary measure that is ruled out, because it is back and forth, then they necessarily develop a lifestyle. akin to the current realities on ground, for which they have to take caution about. And that brings me to a behavioral guideline assessment for every family, which we give for free if you just download from the internet or on my Gmail account, James One
what issues does the evaluation throw up?
Yes, this one shows you that, you see, what government has done in relapsing a bit, the lockdown is good, but the greater aspect of it and the onus lies with your capacity to take adequate and appropriate responsibility. So the behavioral guideline assessment test, BGAT 101, says, now that you are the sole person responsible in the community, in the family, in the home, these are all the things you need to balance up in order to scale up and be sure you don't miss a point. Because you see, a small loophole can commit a whole community and family into being infested by coronavirus. So you have to be up to your game in your psychology and in your mechanics, in your mentality and in what you do. So the assessment will help you to keep gauge, then the livelihood. So the triangular model says the family at top, taking responsibility, then the lifestyle has been reworked, upgraded to meet with the current reality, while the livelihood says, well, health and wealth goes together. What type of work are you doing, and how do you need to scale up in that, so that when these two finds equilibrium, then the family will be okay here. And then when this one goes in a round circle, it becomes a community.
I'm sure you have a lot to say about
this. A lot to say.
And
everybody in Nigeria, especially from family unit, must grasp. Otherwise, we cannot, I repeat it, we may not be able to flatten
look for
at family level and at community level. To flatten the otherwise, NCDC has done a great deal.
Yes, we're completely out of time. It's unfortunate.
Okay,
I'm going to have to stop you here. We'll take up this discussion in another episode of the program. I can assure you we'll do that, because we have to let people get a better appreciation of some of these points that you're throwing up. James Komolafe, CEO, Saba Resources, it's been a pleasure having you on Insight.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you for coming.
Great to be here. Please keep safe and stay responsible.
Thank you so much. This is where we draw the curtain on this episode of the program. It's been quite an enlightening one for me. Elizabeth, how's it been for you?
Well, very interesting. We are keeping safe. And for the media, we need to encourage the media. They play a very important role in nation building, so we have to be there for them. Indeed. It makes both of us.
Indeed,
anyway.
Indeed, very, very true. Join us same time next week for more on Insights. I'm Nnamdi Odipo.
And I'm Elizabeth Omori. We'll see you next week.